Okay, I'm gonna get right down to it because this was the second worst movie I've seen all year. Like, seriously. An all-black Western movie is a great idea, but not when you eat my time up and by the end of the movie you do nothing except give me the middle finger without apologizing for wasting my time. This movie drags its freaking feet for 2 hours and 17 minutes to tell the most simplistic and unoriginal revenge story since the Oldboy remake. I lost brain cells trying to slog through this mess. I paused it 4 times to get up and do something else because I was so freaking bored. One of the things that put me off guard about this movie was the terrible, overblown soundtrack. This movie wants to be a Tarantino-esque Spike Lee blaxploitation western so bad that it overdoes it and ends up failing on all cylinders. The movie has the most annoyingly overblown sound design and sound editing I've heard all year. It makes the sound design in Michael Bay's films sound like an M83 album. The movie also has these random stylistic choices that come off distracting rather than effective, from the awful opening title sequence to the hilariously bad split screen choices that don't add anything to the story or the overall experience. I mean, there's scenes where the blood was completely fake, clearly digital. Even when the blood was on the freaking floor, it was digital. I've never seen blood this fake looking since the first Expendables movie. The cast didn't even seem like they cared. It's like director James Samuels slapped everyone in costume and said, "Say your lines in a stereotypical Western way, but make sure you take forever to deliver your lines because we gotta fill up the 2 hours and 17-minute runtime somehow. I mean, we have no story to tell, so just run the clock out, everyone. Okay, action." The dialogue was horrible, and not because it's Western, it's because it was as if Samuel thinks that that's how people from that time actually talk. It was imitation of Western dialect. Wrong! Everybody just slurred their lines in the most cringy, unappealing, and sluggish way, and the filmmakers thought that they were being stylized? Get Tarantino, Spike Lee, David Mamet, or Aaron Sorkin to write your dialect for you. Stop trying to do it yourself. Every single character was completely flat, cardboard cutouts with no depth at all, and half of the time they're making stupid decisions just to keep the movie going, not because it progresses their character or anything. Okay, I'm gonna spoil this movie, so click to this part of the video if you actually care. So basically, we follow the main warm body because he's not really a character, and his name is Nat Love, as he witnesses his parents killed in front of him, followed by some really bad acting from the child actor. Buck is the character's name, played by Idris Elba, who actually did the killing. Years later, he finds one of the gang members of the one that killed his parents, and they take Buck's $25K money, not knowing that it's actually his. So Nat goes to a saloon where his ex, Mary, is a singer, and this is followed by one of the fakest looking singing scenes that I think I've ever seen. It looks so dubbed and obvious, it doesn't even sound like Zazie Beetz. So why does she sound like she has quality sound coming out of her voice with nothing to amplify it? So after her fake singing, Mary and Nat reunite, but then they do again? So is she pissed at him for leaving, or is she not? So we get into this expository dialogue filled scene about how she left the outlaw life and how Buck is in jail, and that's why Nat isn't hunting down him and his gang. So before they get ready to screw, I guess for some reason one of Nat's partners brings one of Buck's boys down, and Nat goes to see him. They learn that they stole Buck's money, and Nat learns that Buck will break out of jail. So the gang member says that he doesn't know how, but Buck's getting out. So for no reason, Nat lets the captive gang member go, but does not realize that his guys just killed 6 of them already. What's one more gonna do? It's not gonna change anything, so you might as well just put him out of his misery right now. But instead he lets him go. And spoiler alert, we're never gonna see this character ever again, so he might as well have been dead. So meanwhile, Buck's gang pursues the train Buck is in. Trudy, played by Regina King, stands in front of a train, causing it to stop, and the idiot train driver jumps and runs to her just to force a scene where he gets killed before he says the N-word.
There ain't no way to board a train, you damn stupid nigga!
You might could have said nincompoop.
We ain't no nincompoop.
So they take the train, and I want to sidetrack to describe one of the most annoying characters ever put in a Western, and he's played by Lakeith Stanfield, named Cherokee Bill. Now get this, his character doesn't particularly enjoy violence, but he'll say crap like this.
I might actually enjoy inflicting violence on you.
That's right, I don't enjoy violence, but I'll inflict violence instead of getting one of my gang members to fight you. And I'll also be the first to threaten violence. I'll be the first to shoot someone of my own independent accord without any pressure from orders from my boss. I really don't particularly like violence. So also in the train, they encounter a young trooper who they apprehend and use him as leverage to get through the door to the room that Buck is being held in. So this film eats up more time by trying to emulate stylistic dialogue like Tarantino, but completely fails. What'd you expect?
Oh, that sounds like fear talking, Mr. Officiant of the goddamn law. And we done already hurt a couple people.
State your purpose, bastard.
Also, I'm not a bastard, but you got something we want. We've got a soldier that you want.
There's not a single ounce of believable tension here. And what's worse is that when Smith shoots the kid on the shoulder, the kid stupidly up and says, "I'm okay, Pa," for no reason. Why would you blatantly give that away? Oh, my fault. It's just to continue to raise more artificial tension and waste more time. And how the heck does he look like your son when you both look at least 10 years apart? You know, this entire train scene was just slow, meandering, and just badly written, with a terrible soundtrack in the background and characters just taking their time walking very slowly. Get on with this already! So Smith gives the lieutenant a pardon for Buck by the general, who doesn't matter at all, and apparently the lieutenant are corrupt troopers that did heinous crimes themselves. I don't know why they're telling us this. I mean, and the problem is, this is all slowly, achingly explained for no reason. It does not matter. The lieutenant dies and we're never going to see this general character. So after wasting more time simply by opening the freaking prison door, Buck is freed and he asks, who can drive a train? What? Why does Smith bother shooting the actual train driver if they were gonna let the train continue its course after they freed Buck? Why didn't they just keep the train driver hostage? That's retarded. So this kid raises his hand because apparently he can drive a train. Huh? Well, why does it have to be the kid? How does he even know how to drive a train? That doesn't make any sense. Is it to give him more screen time or something? Whatever, the scene's over, thank God. So the sheriff confronts Nat and tells him about how Buck is freed and the sheriff readies to take him. So Nat goes with the sheriff after a stupid forced Mexican standoff thing, or whatever. So back with Buck, he re-enters his hometown, they go back to the bank, and the film starts eating screen time, telling the characters what we already know in detail. Their money was stolen before they could return to town. Moving on.
$500.
What'd he say?
25.
I heard you.
What? So he gets ready to confront the acting mayor, who apparently hasn't been managing the town very well. So we have to watch him walk slowly from one building to the other for 1 minute and 28 seconds. I'm not joking. Yep, still walking. Still walking. No, please don't stop. No, don't stop. Keep walking. Please, get on with this. You know, scenes like this from a filmmaker that actually understands film will use this long take as an excuse to reveal and communicate things about the character. If you're going to extend a take like this, use it to tell a story. Heck, Pieces of a Woman is a great example of how to use this technique properly. The first act has a 20-minute scene that has 0 cuts whatsoever, and it's a single setting, a single situation, and it reveals the dynamic and relationship between both main characters, as well as communicating things about them individually. And hey, I'll do you one better. Django Unchained also has a long sequence where characters are just simply walking, but Tarantino adds the right amount of style and storytelling, which gives us a lively feel that no scene in The Harder They Fall simply just can't. And to top it off, just listen to this. Ugh, just perfect. So Buck and the mayor get into a boring, dumb fight, followed by stock audience reaction sound cues and overblown sound effects to emit shock value. Not impressed. So we learn that they were also friends. So what happened? We waste time following Buck meandering to confront his old friend, but the film blows the opportunity to visually communicate why Buck is rightfully suited to manage the town. So what's the problem aside from trying to illustrate that Buck is the big dog in the town? Especially since he doesn't do any better, as we see later. Thanks for wasting my time, movie. So we're back with Nat and the sheriff, and we learn that the marshal actually is going to free Nat, so Nat can find Buck. Okay, so I'm confused. Why did he need to make a scene in the bar earlier? The marshal personally goes to him and tells him that he's under arrest, especially since no one else heard what they were saying.
What'd they say?
Something about guns. Kill it.
Why didn't he just tell Nat that he can help him look for Buck and just him and Nat simply leave the saloon? Why did they need to stage a stupid standoff in front of his gang? And also, why did the marshal bring out his gun if he was just gonna put it back to uncuff Nat? Who's watching? They're the only two there. But then he gives him the gun back. What? Nat also mentioned that he was going to kill the marshal for bringing in Buck.
I was fixing to kill you. When you and your fellas brought in Rufus?
Why? Where did this even come from? What made you change your mind if you were that hellbent on killing Buck that you were willing to kill the very people that were just doing their job? Are you just trying to cheaply and lazily establish backstory between these characters by mentioning an irrelevant moment that has nothing to do with the main character's choices in this moment that supposedly pushes the plot forward? If so, you suck. So then Nat's crew arrives and how did they know that they were even there? So Mary just up and decides to help Nat then, I guess. Does she even know why she's doing this? Never mind, she's just a cardboard cutout character anyway.
I don't want you mixed up in this no more.
Then you should have told me so.
Huh?
I made things. I've built things. And I ain't gonna risk all that just because you decide to come trotting back.
Trotting?
Yeah.
So Nat tells his gang that they should just leave since he doesn't want them involved for some reason, even though he just said that he didn't want anything to do with Buck, but on a dime he decides to go ahead and take him on, even though he just freed one of Buck's gang members earlier. I'm not sure what his motivations are anymore. And also Mary and Nat they just stare at each other with manipulative music in the background. No characterization, everyone is just spouting bad dialogue and the movie is taking forever just to wrap this scene up. I mean, all they had to say was, sure, we're just gonna help you, Nat. I mean, not really, but none of this dialogue reveals any characters, so it's just literally Western stereotypical dialect, as I just said earlier. Okay, so back with Buck and Smith. Smith asks why Buck would leave things to Wiley, and the excuse is, oh, well, we were friends and he was loyal, but he's not anymore for no reason. I'm totally not kidding when I say that that was actually a line of dialogue in this scene.
Look, I know that Wiley got his ways, but he was loyal once.
Loyalty is a virtue, Rufus, till it ain't. See these folk here? Either they can't see it or they don't want to. But I believe in what you're doing.
Wait, what? What do you mean? What don't they see about Buck that makes them doubt him? Did they have a problem with him before? Before Buck went to jail, did he not live up to his responsibilities? And how is he doing anything different than Wiley, or better? You know, the whole show don't tell thing would be great right now. So we learn that Wiley has been running the town dry financially and the town is on the brink of being sold. So Buck advocates that the town scrapes up $50,000 somehow, which makes no sense. If they're financially short, shouldn't they just look for jobs or occupations in different towns near them that earn money? That's an incredibly unrealistic way to go about this situation by isolating your own townspeople by making them look for money at the same time. I mean, do you see what I mean when I say how is Buck doing anything different than Wiley or any better? So yeah, Buck just turns off his brain and keeps everybody in the town that's clearly on a decline and tells them to look for money and propose a tax that's never specified. This movie is trash. So Wiley runs into Nat and his gang and he offers to help. Nothing really happens here that progresses the story. Wiley just doesn't really have much to contribute except to just tag along. Meanwhile, Mary wants to be the one to go into Redwood alone to make contact with Buck to offer to buy off his saloon. Why? I guess because the script needs to give Mary something to do besides stand around in the background or just have a blank staring expression. So she goes to the town armed with a gun and she even threatens one of the guys in their own area. And after a long, boring, stagnant, stupid scene of Mary walking into the longest saloon ever with this blue chick dancing around her for no freaking reason, she finally makes it to Buck. So Mary makes her offer, knowing that there was no reason to even think that that was a good idea, and Smith knocks her out. So why did she think he was going to accept the offer? If she had $50K, why not just give it to him and solve their economic issue? Why ask to buy a saloon? I understand that she's doing this for infiltration reasons, but what was she hoping to accomplish beyond just getting taken hostage? Does she not know who she's dealing with? Whatever, she gets captured and really shows how developed she's been so far. So Smith has Mary tied up in the sheriff's office and magically knows that she's doing this for love.
Love is the only thing worth dying for.
Ugh.
You know, I had a sister named Mary. She was pretty, strong-willed, like you. There's this girl called Hope, lived by us. Big fat kid, always picking on the smaller kids, obviously out of jealousy. She decided to throw the apple across the street at me. Hit my sister in the head and knocked her out balance. She fell down the steps. My daddy, when he got home, he took off his belt and he beat me. And I
This entire exchange is 4 minutes and 31 seconds. You're not Tarantino. Stop trying to be like Tarantino. Tarantino can actually write great dialogue and make a scene go on for that long because he writes great characters. Stop trying to be him. You're a bad writer and director. Yeah, I said it. Sue me. So Nat comes to Mary's rescue and confronts Smith and her gang. So Smith offers that Nat stays and his gang leaves if he wants Mary to live. I mean, Smith could have just ordered her men to shoot Nat's men up once they're out of town, when they don't see it coming. And even if Nat was held hostage, he'd still have to be forced to give them the location of the money. So Nat is taken prisoner and we learn why Buck gave Nat his scar. And I'm not kidding about this, but the reason why Buck gave Nat his scar is because not that Nat could remember his face, but it's so that Buck could actually see his face once Nat comes to see him. And I don't see much of a difference. Both reasons seem pretty interchangeable to me, but whatever. So anyway, Buck tells Nat that he has to go rob a bank for the money that he stole. You know, if bank robbing was a suggestion, why didn't he just get Smith and her men to do it much earlier, since they did hijack a train after all? I mean, I know that he's doing this because he's the bad guy, but it seems like hindsight kicked in way too late. Now they do address why he did this. I mean, it's not like Buck is doing it himself. If he sends men unrecognized and masked, then the robbery would definitely not be a problem for him. I don't know, maybe I'm just overthinking this. So they go to Maysville, an all-white town, and oh, look at the subtlety in this scene. Your audience would have been too stupid to recognize a predominantly white town without the town color being literally white. So there isn't really much to say except that they go in, rob the bank, and then leave. Nothing else to see there, move on. So after they rob the bank, the film openly admits that they did this for nothing. They assume that Buck will kill Mary if they were to bring the money back. I mean, it makes sense, but to be honest, Mary did sort of bring this on herself by stupidly going into town and wasting time trying to buy off a saloon with money that she doesn't even have. So Rufus conveniently has stashes of guns around the land that Wiley found out. Hey, Buck, maybe you should have just killed Wiley in town when you had the opportunity after you just beat his teeth out, because apparently he knows a lot more about you than what you think. Homie, you played yourself. Why didn't Wiley tell them about this much sooner, since Nat already planned on hunting Buck down anyway, after Wiley wanted to build an alliance with them? Bad writing? Yeah, I know. So Nat and his crew go back in town with money and dynamite and demand Mary. So they get ready to do their trade, but Cherokee, you know, the one that doesn't enjoy violence, is the first to raise his gun at Nat, which is more so the writers saying, alright, we gotta hurry up and wrap this 2-hour movie up somehow. So let's get the character that we just established isn't really a violent person to be the first one to pull out a gun. So the stupid Blue Ranger stupidly empties his gun and replaces it with a aha bullet with Cherokee's name on it. Haha, you're not clever at all. Does he and Cherokee have some sort of personal history? It doesn't seem like it. It's never been established. Was it just there for no reason? Why would he have time to put Cherokee's name on a bullet? Moving on. So the stupid kid gets shot. Who cares? And I guess no one is emotional about this except the one that probably should have been watching for this. So everybody starts shooting at each other. This entire shootout is badly shot, choreographed, badly scored, and the blood effects, once again, look laughable. Not much to say beyond that except Mary doesn't shoot Smith, but instead fights her with a loaded gun that she empties the bullets out of after Smith pulls out a knife. I mean, you bring a gun to a knife fight and use the gun as a club? Stupid has never been more definite than what I'm seeing here. So Mary and Smith finished their stupid dumb fight. More characters that we don't care about dies. Alright, I'm just gonna skip straight to the plot twist because this movie is just getting incredibly boring. So we learn that Nat and Buck are actually half brothers. We learn that Buck has been searching for their father for years and couldn't find him, and when he killed him, his real revenge was to turn Nat into an outlaw. So what did Nat do? How is this real revenge if his father is already dead? And why is he making Nat suffer if we hardly know anything about Nat as a character? Why didn't he just tell Nat the truth earlier in his life instead of making him like his father? Seriously, what's the reason? You couldn't kill your brother, so instead of nurturing your brother, you turn him into a monster for no reason. Okay, got it. So Nat kills Rufus because Rufus told him to get his revenge. What a waste of a potentially effective plot twist. So the good guys win and they bury the dead. The end. I'm done with this movie. Do not watch this garbage. It's the second worst movie I've seen all year, right behind Paranormal Activity. Just because this movie has an all-black cast doesn't mean that this movie gets a pass. I can give you movies that do this a million times better. Here, we'll do it right now. You want a tension-filled, entertaining Western epic that takes its time? Here, take Django Unchained, The Hateful Eight, The Dollars Trilogy, The Good, the Bad, and the Weird, Unforgiven, Buck and the Preacher. You want a film with a predominantly black cast? Here, take If Beale Street Could Talk, Moonlight, 12 Years a Slave, Judas and the Black Messiah, Sorry to Bother You, The Great Debaters, Waves, Attack the Block, The Black Panther, Get Out, Us. You want to look for talented film directors that's definitely better than James Samuel? Here, take Barry Jenkins, Casey Lemon, Spike Lee, Ryan Coogler, Shonda Rhimes, Kenya Barris, Shaka King, Steve McQueen, who's my favorite director of all time. All these films are better than this movie. Please just go watch something else. This movie is a complete waste of a great cast, money, and my time. And this is the second worst movie that I've ever reviewed on my channel so far, next to Spy Cat. I'm dead serious about that. And to James Samuel, if you're watching, which you're probably not, stick to music because you suck at making movies. Peace!